on YouTube. Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the Southwest Florida TechNet. My name is Ian, and KO4EFS, Kilo Oscar 4, Echo Foxtrot Sierra, and I've got a great show tonight. Tonight, honestly, is my favorite topic of all time, and so I'm looking forward to bringing this topic. I'm so good at this topic that I'm actually doing three things at once right now. Isn't that amazing? Um, yeah, it's so good. But yeah, I've got this going over here because I want to keep the chat room where I can see it over on YouTube, or at least try to. And I got the chat room up for Zoom. If you guys put something in there, Joseph is going to help me keep an eye on the chat room. In fact, let's see here. Okay, I've made you a co-host, and he's going to keep an eye on things for me. And basically tonight is going to be a fun night. I have to be honest with you. Like I said, of all the different topics that I do, this is by far the best one because of all the things. When I got into ham radio, this was the one thing where I was like, I can do this. I can build this. I can't build a radio. I can't build a cable. I can't build this, but I can build an antenna and I can make it work and I can tune it and I can see my own work and how it comes out. And so this is one of my favorite topics. And so we're going to deep dive into this. But first, real quick, before we get too far into this, or right after this screen, I'm sorry, let's do this first. We're going to talk about 5 basic kinds of antennas that you can build. Dipoles, which are probably the easiest ones to build. We're going to hit those. I'm going to show you some really easy ways to make them with stuff that I bet you already have. Then we're going to do ground plane antennas, same thing there. We're going to show you some really cool antennas that you can do. And then a wire antenna. I'm going to show you how you can be out in the woods with a little piece of coax with a plug on the end and a bow fang, and you can build something that you can crawl up in a tree and just hang in a tree, a piece of wire. Really something simple. This is a survival technique that we all should have in ham radio, is to be able to create an antenna basically out of garbage and stick it up in a tree. And of course, then we're going to get into the real antennas, as I call them, the manly man antennas. But truthfully, I love Yagis. Yagis are the best. I'm going to tell you what, when you put a Yagi antenna up and you point it in the right direction, you are going to be amazed. So I'm going to show you how to build a Yagi for under $25. Okay, so and we're going to do that tonight. I'm going to show you right here. And then I'm going to show you some other weird antennas that are kind of cheap. And then I'm going to show you some weird stuff that's been loaded up as antennas over the years. So it's really cool. We're going to go just a deep dive through antennas with a heavy emphasis on UHF and VHF. And when I say that, we're going to have a double emphasis on the 220 band, because I want you to understand everything we're going to talk about tonight is good for 220. It's good for 440. It's good for 2 meter. So any of those three.
6 meters too.
Anything we build tonight, you could measure out for 6 meters, 10 meters. You get to the point where it's probably going to be too big for the kind of antenna we're building, but you could literally build a 80-meter Yagi if you could figure out a way to do it.
I always wanted to do a 160-meter J-pole, but you'd have to have FAA approval.
Yeah, you'd have to have a red light on top. but yeah, I mean, so we're gonna talk about some different things. But I want you guys to understand what brought this about this week. I always like to tell you guys what is it that made me choose this topic this week. I spoke to 3 different people this week, okay, that told me that they have bought a 220 radio and they're having a hard time getting into the 220 repeater. And I want to start by saying they're outside the 10-mile radii. So it's not that there's anything wrong with the 220. The 220 is a strong machine, great antenna, good location. The problem is just we got people out in Buckingham and people out in Estero and people up in Charlotte County that aren't able to get it. So I'm going to show you tonight how for $25 you can build an antenna that you can stick on a tripod. And then when it's time for this, you go stick it on the roof of your car and aim it towards Fort Myers. And you can talk on the 220 net with your bow fang. There's it's just some easy stuff. So we're gonna go through that. Then later on, believe it or not, it's arrived. FT8 dark mode. I was like, I was shocked. I was shocked. Excuse me. Sinuses. I was shocked, absolutely shocked that FT8 had a dark mode now. And then I found out apparently it's had it for a little while, and I was just ignorant. But it doesn't matter either way, because I'm gonna clear this whole ignorance thing up tonight and show you guys how to make your FT8 dark mode. Let me tell you what, if you thought you liked WSJTX before, you're gonna love dark mode. Dark mode is like I don't know, it's like day mode FT8 but sexier. All right, and then we're gonna go into ham radio news. Got all kinds of weird, cool news. There's another little SSTV, 2-day SSTV ISS deal coming up. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about the tropics. Quiet right now, but we're going to go in depth into that and look at some SST, some surface water temperatures and things like that. And we're going to talk about space weather. We've got a clear disk today, but we've got something coming around the limb. So we're going to talk about that too. And so all that coming up. But before we get into all that, I want to make a few mentions. Gary, SWF. I don't know if he's in tonight, but I just wanted to say thanks to him, and I'll mention this a few times. He donated 3 computers over last weekend to the club, to the TechNet, and to the Tech Club, and one of them is an amazing machine. It's a huge server that was when it was built was an amazing beast of a machine. And so even though it's a little older now, I've been running 2 things at once on it. It's been doing great. We've already got SDR Sharp on it. We've already got FT8 running on it. We've got a bunch of stuff running on it, and it's doing great. So we've got a couple of other ones. We got one slower one that I think we're going to put. What are we going to put on that, Joseph? Unix or Linux?
Yeah, Linux.
Yeah, let's put Linux on there. I bet it'll run Linux a lot faster than it's running Windows.
Certainly.
Windows is kind of like always having a boat anchor hanging out of your window. Now you can get if you can get a really fast car, and it'll still go pretty fast, but there's always that boat anchor hanging out your window. That's Windows.
Yeah, it's like pouring sugar in the gas tank.
I like Windows. I have a love-hate with Windows bigger than the world. Okay, I love Windows. I hate Windows. I love Windows. I hate Windows. I want Dan. Does anybody know Dan's call sign? The Dan that goes to Lunch Bunch, visually impaired, is a friend, and I can't remember his call sign, but you guys know who he is. He donated.
ACB.
Yeah, KD7 ACB. Thank you. Dan donated 3 computers a while back to the club, to the team. And I just wanted to mention that one of his computers was running SARnet the day that it was the #1 scanner in the world. So that was pretty cool. And also another one of his computers is running an SDR Sharp program with a scanner program that Joseph wrote in there that has it's scanning 3 different bands, and it's scanning all the repeaters on 3 different bands, minus the ones we've got covered on the other 2 machines. So it's pretty cool. And that's all on Broadcastify. So those computers have all been put to good work. And also Stephen, our EM coordinator, W9GPI, donated 3 old XP machines months ago to me. And one of those is up and running and has been up and running. And I just want to make one honorable mention. This XP machine has now been running for almost 1 full month without being restarted. Which is probably a Windows record.
I'm sure
But it's XP, that's why. All right, so thanks, guys. Thanks. All right, the next day, and if you guys have anything you want to donate, computers, radios, I'm looking for old HF rigs. I don't care if the knobs broke off the front, as long as I can get it on an FT8 frequency and hook it up to a Raspberry Pi. That's all I want to do with it. So I'm looking for old, broken, but still transmit and receive HF machines. I'm also looking for old HF machines that don't transmit but still receive. We have a couple of projects coming up we're wanting to use those for. So anything like that, just let me know. And then if you donate I keep you on the list so that when we put things in service, the remote FT8 is going to be the first big thing that's going to go in service before long. But as things go in service, you will get access to it as a donor. Okay, whether you're a team member or not, if you're a donor, I will give you access to the cool stuff that we're doing. Okay, next thing up, Ham Radio Toolkit. This is the best app in the whole world. There's probably others that are just as good. I'm probably biased, but the truth is, this is the one I use. I like it. The green doesn't match the motif for tonight, but I wanted to leave it in the native color. That way you could find it easier when you go to Google. Go to Google Play. It's probably in the Apple Store, but it's probably like $50. But it's free for Android users like me. I know that they have it for other platforms. I'm not sure what else, but it's called Ham Radio Toolkit. And you download this into your phone. It's a small little app, and you can see what it looks like there. And you just press what kind of antenna you want to build. You put in the megahertz. You set the little things here on the right. You have to set those for inches, or unless you like working with millimeters or some foreign measurement. I have a bad taste in my mouth for metrics ever since they tried to force that to me on the 5th grade. And can you guys remember that? Were you in school when they did that? They're trying to force the metrics on me, and I'm like, boo hiss. Yeah. It's actually a much better system, but I refuse. Anyway, so there you go. I'm an illogical jerk. But anyway, you got to change these little things here on the side to inches. Or whatever measurement you want to use. And then you just put your frequency in up there, and it will tell you how to build your antenna. This is so easy to use, and it's great because it's not, you put it in your phone, so that way when you're building your antenna, you can lay it right there. I also have it in my tablet, and I actually have Velcro, and I stick my tablet right above the workbench, and it's got all my measurements, and it just sits there on my tablet the whole time I'm building the antenna. Because I have zero memory, especially short term.
Ian, it looks like on the Windows side, it's called Amateur Radio Toolkit.
Okay.
On the Apple side, yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just if you don't find this one, there's other ones. I'm not guaranteeing anything, but it's just I use this one and I know this one works good. There is about 10 of the buttons that will not light up unless you pay them a nominal fee. I have not needed anything that's behind those gray buttons yet, so I still haven't paid for it. But I will probably one day give the man my $3 or whatever, because it is a really good app. All right, any questions on that? Any comments? All right, antennas, man, I'll tell you what. There is so many cool ways you can build antennas and things you can build. And when I was going through different things to do this, I was absolutely amazed at all of the different ingenuity that's been going into the resonance of power over the years. It's just an amazing thing. And there's about 3 or 4 of these on here that are set up for that reception of those satellites, Joseph. I'm sure you can probably see that. That one with the acrylic on the lower right, I think that's one. And right in the center, that's one. And I think that half moon looking thing there, lower left, I think that might be one. That one to the left there of that one's made with 2 coat hangers and 2 bolts and a piece of plumbing pipe. That's cool. We're going to go through a lot of these tonight, so don't worry about that screen right now. PVC is your friend. One of the things I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to try to convince you guys that you don't have to be Tim, the tool man, to build one of these. I am not industrious. I'm a retired firefighter. Okay. I work in broadcasting. I can't solder worth a crap. But you don't need to be good with your hands or good at building things or even industrious at all to make antennas. I'm going to show you a way tonight to make an antenna with no solder and no drill. And it's a Yagi. It's called a tape measure Yagi, and you can make it with hose clamps or tape in place of the solder and drilling holes and things like that. So there's even for people that don't want to solder and drill holes, we're going to have antennas you can build tonight. Some really cool stuff. PVC's your friend. Let me tell you something. My dad was a plumber. My dad built everything out of PVC. My mother still has about 7 or 8 things in her house that are made out of PVC. She's like, you know, I just can't get rid of this stuff. Your dad built it. But I mean, he used to build everything out of PVC. PVC is amazing. It's inexpensive. Even though wood has doubled, PVC has only gone up by a much lesser degree. It's getting more expensive, but not near to the rate other different hardware is. It comes in many sizes, thicknesses, and shapes, and they're all locally available. It's very lightweight, it's durable, and it's strong. You can get it in like a thicker if you need to use it as a mast. You can also buy one that fits tightly inside of another one and make you a mast that's literally like a piece of steel. They're available at all your local hardware stores. It's not necessary to glue. In most cases, you don't even have to do anything, or you might want to put a little set screw in, but you don't have to glue. I've never glued one of mine because I take them all apart and reuse my parts. I have parts that have been used on 4 or 5 different antennas. So you don't have to glue them, and you can reuse your parts over and over and over. No fancy tools. I just took a bunch of Yagis that I had and turned it into a 10 element 440 Yagi that I built this last weekend. It's up there now shooting towards Verna, trying to get the NI4CE. It's doing pretty good. No fancy tools are needed. All you need is a hacksaw. You can also buy a fancy PVC cutter too. They're pretty cool, but they only work up to about 1.5 inches, or 1.25 inches or something like that. Once you get over that, you have to use a hacksaw. But this is something you can do. You can also, if all you need to do is make 3 cuts, if you go ask the guy at Home Depot, he'll probably cut it for you. Those guys are pretty good about that, and they'll just charge you for the 1 stick. They'll even do that with a sheet of wood. They'll make a cut or 2 for you. Anyway, it's a non-conductive material. Let me tell you what, I honestly believe no matter what calculation you make, or no matter how you try to figure out the math or whatever, antennas work better when the boom and the mast are both non-conductive. You just seem to get this amazing resonance with it, and you don't have as flaky an SWR. When I build these ones out of PVC and the only metal on it is the metal that I put the pieces that are actually the antenna, I have an easy, SWR is easy. I rarely have to put any loops or anything on it. Yeah. I've got Yagis right now that I'm using up there that don't even have hairpin turns on them. And I'm 1 to 1.2, 1.3. So when you don't have any conductive boom or a conductive mast, I really believe that makes your SWRing easier. That's a personal opinion. Okay, so we got to connect the radio to this contraption that we're going to build, okay? And this is how I started out. I actually bought a couple of these things that you see right here. I bought that lower one, and I bought the upper one. I bought that lower one. It's all that is. It's like a 16-foot extension cable, right? All I did was cut it in half and make 2 antennas out of it. And they both, each one have a plug that hooks into my radios. So you could take this, I would buy the longer one. I'd buy that 50-footer right there. It's got the ends on it, and they'll go right into your radio. You want to make sure that it's the right ends. If that one has one of each, so you just want to buy a little adapter for $3 to go on there. I started with that $17 coil right there for 50 foot. And what I did, I bought that, and I went to the middle of it and I cut it in half. You should see the look on my wife's face when I pull a brand new wire out of a package and cut it in half. It's like, what are you doing? I'm like, look, honey, there's 2 wires now. It's a bargain. So anyway, by doing that, I was now able to cut the end on both ends, you know, in the middle where I cut the middle. I now frayed off both of those and made 2 antennas. I made one to go with one and one to go with the other. And so this is just, I'm just showing you an easy way to hook your Baofeng up to the creation that I'm hoping to motivate you to create tonight. Here's some other ways you can hook it up. You can hook up your larger antenna wire right to the top of your Baofeng. I don't recommend it. But I'll also tell you these little wires here are crap. And if you tug on them all the time, they won't last long. It's one of those things. These little wires are fine if you're going to hook it up, if you're putting it in a go box for, you know, for going out and practicing or the real deal. But if you get to the point where you're using these every day to join the Sunshine Net, which, by the way, I haven't been on in a little while, but it's still my favorite net. If you're going to do it every day to join a net, it's going to wear out in about 3 weeks. I'm telling you, these things are like, they're like test equipment almost. So you might want to go back to something a little more like this, that's a little more durable, and you don't need a bunch of adapters. Remember, every time you add an adapter to an antenna cable, you have loss. And sometimes that loss is more than you think, especially if all your pieces and parts came from China. I've got almost all China antenna wire, and some of it's really good, and some of it's garbage. I'm just being honest. All right, let's do dipoles. Dipoles. Probably the most common kind of antenna out there, I think. It really is the most common. It's also called the doublet, which is something you hear a little more, I think, more of an English term. Dipoles are really, really simple. You've got an antenna that goes up and an antenna that goes down. And I don't mean to make this too simple, but that's it right there. Everybody, one of the biggest misconceptions in radio is that there has to be some piece of magic between the back of the radio and the radiating part of the antenna. And the truth is, there is no magic. It literally, the wire goes down, hooks to the two elements, and it's done. There's no magic. If you need magic, you get the magic by wrapping the cord around the thing like that. That's where you get the little extra ooh that you need to get that SWR down. You can also add a hairpin turn on the Yagis, and we're going to show you that later. But there's things you can do to get the, see how it says Balin 5 to 6 turns? That's a good idea to do that. And that will help you with your SWR, but not always necessary if you build a really good antenna and you're tuning. A quick word of advice: when you're cutting an antenna, always cut it long. Always cut it long, and then tune it down to where you want to be. If the thing says it needs to be 50 inches up and 50 inches down, cut it to 52 inches.
A lot easier to cut it off than it is to add it.
It is, and then throw it on your tuner.
An antenna stretcher?
Yeah, there you go. That's what I need. You know what's funny? With copper and stuff, you can actually stretch it, and I've done it before. But yeah, you don't want to have to deal with stretching and things like that. And I actually had an antenna for a while. You're gonna laugh. I cut it too short, and so it had an alligator clamp on the top that made it half an inch longer, and it was perfect. So I don't know what kind of lobe it was putting out with that alligator clamp on top, but anyway, so anyway, you can do it all different ways. But your dipoles, there's some neat construction here. I want you to notice the one on the far right, all plumbing parts. That's all plumbing parts. That's actually a T, like an 1.25 inch T, and then he's got a reducer down to a thread, and then the thread goes into the copper pipe. It's the threaded copper goes into that, and then that goes into a sweat fitting, and you can see that right there. You can build that antenna, the one on the right there. You've got your pigtail, and you've literally got about $20 worth of parts there, and that's a great little dipole. The one there in the middle, the spines on that, the radiating elements on that can be anything. They can be a coat hanger. Although I will tell you,
raising rod does a nice job. You can get that at Harbor Freight.
I've actually used brazing rods for 2 different antennas. Somebody gave me a roll of aluminum stock,
Yeah.
that's kind of like the straps you see on chain link fence, but it was one long roll of it. That turned out to be the best material I ever had for building antennas. But anyway, that thing you see there in the middle, that's an old DirecTV mount on someone's roof.
Yeah.
And then a piece of PVC, and he's got the wire running up inside the pipe so that there's no weather on it's protected from the weather. But that's how he's got that set up.
Well,
So these are really
as much as DirecTV, that's for sure.
Yeah, there you go. And it will work when it's raining. And this one here,
that's novel.
this is just another easy dipole. This one's a dual band. This one has a 440 elements on it as well. You can actually build these. You can fan these out. You can make it for 220, 440, 2 meter. It's a little squirrely to tune, but it does work. But this is just an idea. This is literally, this guy just built this thing out of what he had laying around. These connections right here, all you need is a nut and a bolt and a couple of washers. Nothing fancy. And you just put the wire, you take the wire and you measure how much you need for the 440 side, and then you bend it around the screw, and the other side becomes your 2 meter side. And then you just screw your screw down, and then you cut your links to where you need them. That's how I make it. It's literally one piece of wire that bends around the screw. One half the wire's to 440, the other half's to 2 meter. And that's how I've made all of mine. And then you just want to get the right spacing. You want the right amount of spacing out. This looks almost a little close right there, but anyway. But that's all there is to a fan dipole. Now, do you need a little one? You could just make the 440 antenna, or you could just make the 220. I made this one right here with a piece of PVC pipe, but I made 220 440, and I've got it hooked up to my Baofeng on the 775 and the 220 repeater. And so I built an antenna for my purpose. All right, this shows you, this is a little fancier. This guy found some pieces and put a little bit of a fancier connection on there. That's also pretty cool. The wiring's down inside, and then he brings it out for the coil and then back in again. This is a little fancy, but a great setup there. And he can also do, once he cuts it, he can do a little bit of tuning there. Notice that? He would be able to do a little tuning there as well, because the gap in between is not as important as the tuning length. But it does become important if you get too much or not enough gap in here. All right, so that shows you that. That's basically the dipole. Now, a lot of you guys have this sitting around. This is an interesting thing. You could take this little kit that comes with your SDR Sharp, the one I told you 3 weeks ago not to buy. If you did buy this kit and it's sitting around your house somewhere, the little rabbit ears, take the box apart. Take the little rabbit ear box apart and see which side is connected to the positive leg of the antenna connector. And then mark that side and put it back together. Then turn it around like the right picture, and that becomes your dipole. Now, just push the antenna in or out, top and bottom, to length for the frequency that you want to talk on. And now you have a tunable dipole antenna. So that's kind of ingenious. Any pair of rabbit ears can be, and all you got to do is find continuity between your positive leg on your wire, and so you know which one is the positive, because you obviously want the center conductor to go to the upright antenna. If you figure any pair of rabbit ears can become a tunable dipole antenna, I caution you not to use more than 5 watts with something like that. Ground plane antennas. Before we go on, does anybody have anything on dipoles? Anything at all? Any questions, comments, concerns?
I've never actually built a dipole.
I don't build them too much anymore because I always go for the bigger stuff now. But yeah, anyway. Okay, so there's nothing else on that. Dipoles are they're pretty straight up. So are ground plane antennas. A ground plane antenna, it just basically means that you've got one upright and then you've got a grounding plane or a counterpoise underneath it. And most everybody already knows what these are. So I just want to run through some of the things you can build, some of the things you can do with these kind of antennas. Here's some examples. Lower left, that's a tri-band dipole, or I'm sorry, a tri-band ground plane. Oh my God. The second one over is a dual band ground plane. And then the third one is a little quarter wave ground plane antenna for the aviation band for receiving the aviation signals, which in the next months, there's several things I want to do. And one of the things is build a little antenna like this and hook it up to an SDR Sharp and receive the plane telemetry. That's kind of cool. And then on the top there, on the upper left, you see that's like a dual. He's got two different ones up there. And then that next one, that's, I don't know what band that is. It looks a little small for 440, but it might be 440. I don't know. It looks pretty small. It might be higher than that. It might be up in the microwave.
900.
Yeah, it could be. Again, any of these antennas can be sized. As long as the structure works, they can be sized for whatever band you want to use them on. That third one, that's simply just a UHF plug, a surface mount plug like you would buy to replace the one on the back of your radio. And then you hook up 4 wires to it using little bolts, and you solder one wire to the center conductor, and boom, you've got an antenna. That's all there is to it. That's how they build that. That's all there is. This might probably be the easiest one to build. If you wanted to just think, okay, what's the easiest one to build? Go to Home Depot, buy you 5 or 6 feet of copper wire. The guy will pull it off the roll for you. It'll cost next to nothing. And buy and get you this little UHF plug coming from Amazon for $3. And there's your first antenna. And buy a box of little bolts that'll fit through those holes. So you got the nut and the bolt that fits through the hole. And then you're down to just soldering the middle piece on. That's the hardest part. I don't know if there's
really easy to do on those case mounts because you can just put the center conductor right in. There's like a little hole usually. It's really easy to do.
Yeah, in some cases, your wire will fit almost snug down in there, and you just put a drop of solder on there, and you're done. It's really not that hard. In some cases, you might be able to just stick it on there and crimp it if you don't have a solder. I mean, you may be able to do that. But it's always best to solder when you can. All right, so but those are all different ones of those. But this is one of the easiest antennas to build out there, and you can build it real easy. And for 220, you can build this for 220. It's only going to be it's like 10 or 12 inches tall.
13 inches.
13 inches tall.
Yeah, about
and each of your legs will be 13 inches. So you're talking about something pretty small, something that you could literally on this night put on the end of a broomstick and just walk outside and stick it in your yard for 30 minutes while the buck and a quarter net's on.
Yeah.
And then just go grab it and bring it back in. If you're in one of those condo Gustavo places. All right, and of course you can't talk about ground plane without talking about the old cookie sheet trick. This is what I do when I go on vacation. I got like 3 mag mount antennas, and when I get up to my cabin, I take like my mom's got like 5 cookie sheets up there. I go and grab 2 cookie sheets out and put 2 antennas on cookie sheets. That's like the first thing I do. I gotta hear these repeaters. It works pretty good. You could use a metal garbage can. I will tell you, if you use a mag mount or a vehicle mount style antenna and you stick it on your wood banister, you're going to wonder why it don't work worth a crap and why it gets no SWR at all, or why it's a wild SWR. The reason is because there's no counterpoise. They require the vehicle to be the counterpoise. So if there's no vehicle, you have to provide that counterpoise some other way. And you can do it with a garbage can or a cookie sheet or in the upper right-hand corner there at the top of a car. I don't know why all these pictures are like snowy pictures, but they're the ones I found. Wire antennas. All right, before we go on, is any question about Any of this stuff, any of the ground
I
plane
wonder
stuff.
if I have a bit of a question for the people here. With the magnetic mount, like just a car mag mount antenna, how does it? Let's see. If you have a cookie sheet that's not magnetic but is made out of like aluminum, for example, would that work, or would the I've heard conflicting reports that the actual magnetic coupling is what makes it work as a ground plane. So does it have to be magnetic in order to work, or can it just be metal, like conductive?
I'll throw that out to everybody. I'm not sure. I will tell you, it's my understanding that if it makes a connection to the negative, to the shielded wire, the negative wire, it should work. I'm not sure about the magnet thing, though. Does anybody have anything on that? Anything?
If I understood the question, that came up a day or two ago on the Sunshine Net. Apparently, we had a rain, and one of the people were saying that they could hardly get the old goat's net, and then after it quit raining, that they could had more. It was worked better than it did before the rain came, and FHP Dave explained it was because the ground was wet. But we
Yeah.
talked after the net, and I said, well, what makes it effective? Because he had said something about adding salt to water. And I said, is it conductivity? And he said, yes. So the more conductive it is, I take it, the better it's going to be.
Mhm. That is an interesting point. And you know something, Vivian? In the morning, or I'll go to bed at night at 11 or 12 o'clock sometimes. I'm working weird hours, so I'm up all down. But let's say I go to bed at 11 o'clock. I'm SWR'd out on 40 meters on FT8, and I shut it down and I go to bed. When I get up in the morning at 6 or 7 in the morning, there's dew on the grass. There's dew in the trees. There's dew on my roof of my house. There's dew on everything. When I come out here, my SWR is different. I literally have to get on the knobs and retune back in again to get my low because I'm a bit picky about my SWR, and I'm surprised that I'll be at 1 to 2.3 or something, and I can get it back down to 1 to 1.4, but I just have to work it back down again. And I'm pretty sure that must be the grass and the dew on the grass. But it's hard to tell because about the time that dew burns off the grass, I'm usually heading up to 20 or something anyway. So, but I think that's the same thing. Is the ground plane it changes the SWR of the antenna for good or bad when it's wet. Anybody else have anything on that? I just know I can tell you this: the counterpoise is just as important as the antenna. If you don't have one, the other's not going to perform. So. And I know that when I do my ground plane with my mag mount up at the cabin, I've got one that I actually have a spot where I put a alligator clip on it, and I put the alligator clip on the pan, and that way I make sure that it's grounding, that it's an actual ground plane. See, when you put it on your vehicle and you stick it on the roof, your radio's grounded. So technically, the vehicle is already grounded to the shielding on your wire. Does that make sense? Because the shielding of your wire is grounded to the box on your radio, which is grounded to the vehicle. So
Yes,
technically, the
but
ground
you don't
plane's
want your only
established through
ground.
that.
You don't want your only ground being through the coax.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm just saying that would be why on a vehicle it might work better if you stick it on a cookie sheet. There's no actual physical connection between the metal on the antenna and the metal of the cookie sheet because of the rubber or the sticker or whatever they got on the bottom of it. So I don't know. This is a good question. This is good stuff. Because I'm not sure. It's one of those things. Anybody have anything on that? All right, there you go. Try to ground that cookie sheet. All right, wire antennas. I don't really have any pictures or much to say about this, but I'm going to tell you this. You can take anything and make an antenna out of it. You can take literally a piece of wire, that's the length you need, cut it in the middle, connect one half to one side of your antenna connection and one side to the other, and put 2 wire nuts on it. And then take the positive side and hang it in a tree and let the negative side hang down. And you're on. So all I'm trying to show you guys is you literally don't need an antenna. You literally just need 2 wires that are separate from each other on the end of a coax cable. It can be anything. I've seen people take cookie sheets and drill holes in it and make separators out of those and do things with that. This after all, this right here, this is a wire antenna for HF. That's how it's made, pretty much. It's just an isolator that everything hooks into. So just to show you guys, you could do almost anything with just a wire. And this is something you do when you're out camping one day and you want to have a little project. You know, bring a little piece of wire and just build a wire antenna that you hang up in a tree. That's not actually a physical antenna at all, but just 2 pieces of wire. One that, you know, that's just hanging down. All right, now let's get into the UHF Yagi antennas. These are my favorites, of course. This gives you directional. The directional gives you everything. This increases your gain. It increases not only what you hear, but it increases your ability to send out. And so that, that becomes very important when when you're, you know, you're on the fringe of that repeater and you really want to get into that 1.25 net, or you're in a stereo and you want to get on the traffic net, or you're in North Fort Myers and you want to get on the newbie net.
Or if you're in Fort Myers and you want to get into the Miami repeater.
That's right. Or if you're in North Fort Myers and you want to get into the NI4CE big stick system in Tampa, and I need to get to Verna, which is 62 miles away. Yagi's how you do it. I've got a vertical up 35, 40 feet out here, and it works wonderfully. But the truth is, it doesn't have the performance of a Yagi that's 10 feet lower than that. Yagis just give you so much more. And you can build these. They are not so complicated to build. And there's always that question of why do we call it the Yagi when Uda is actually the guy that made it? Yagi was his assistant. Just for the record, I just want to put that out there. So thanks, Uda and Yagi. All right, there's a simple one. This is called the Yardstick Yagi, or the tape measure Yagi. This is a big one here. This is 2 meter 440. This is one he uses for fox hunting. And he can also do satellites with this. You can do space station flyovers because it's got the cross polarization and the dual bands. There's a lot of things you can do with this. It's a neat little setup he's got here. And building this thing is cheap and it's easy. That's 1 stick of plumbing, 3 crosses, and we're literally talking probably $12, $14 in PVC. And most of us have an old tape measure laying around that we can just gut out. There's nothing to this. And then there's the little pigtail that you hook your radio up to, however you're going to do that. That's all there is to this thing. He uses black clamps. You can use hose clamps. You can use tape. You can use whatever you want to hold your elements on. All right, and we're going to look at some different ones here. Here's a basic parts list. This is for the one. This is if you don't drill and you don't want to screw things in and you don't want to do this. You want to do something you can do without much skill at all. This one's pretty good because you can use clamps. See those clamps? Those are called radiator clamps. There's probably a better name for them, but I don't know what it is.
Hose clamps.
Hose clamps, yes. Those make it to where you don't need to drill any holes. You don't need to thread anything or anything. You just you put those on and you run the thing underneath it and you clamp them both down. You can even do, as you see there, that's the driven element. The wire comes up, positive, negative, and it's soldered on there. You don't have to solder it. You can literally put the wire, you would sand the paint off of the measuring tape. It's got a coating on it that protects the steel underneath. You have to use sandpaper or some way and scrape off or burn off even the coating so you can get down to bare metal. And then you can literally stick the wire between the hose clamp and the piece of steel and clamp it down, and it will work. Is it better to put a little piece of solder on there? Sure. But this will certainly work by just sticking the wire under the hose clamp, between the hose clamp and the piece of tape measure. And that's all there is to it. So you can make you a 3-element Yagi by simply buying 6 hose clamps, 3 crosses, and 1 stick of pipe, and a piece of coax and a tube of silicone. The silicone's optional if you're going to leave it outside. If you're going to leave this outside, you need to paint it. Do whatever you need to do to protect anything that you expose. Anywhere you sand or burn or anything like that is going to rust up pretty quick. All right. Anybody have any questions on this? There's a couple guys that have real good videos on YouTube on how to build this. And he will show you this. These are the plans. Really easy stuff. You can see the red things are hose clamps. The yellow is the yardstick. The black things on the end are simply just a piece of black tape, because when you cut this tape measure, it's going to have like little razor blades on the corners of it. You need to put, you'll have to put a little tape on there or you'll be all cut up. It'll look like you just got out of the jungle. And then the blue thing right here, that's going to be if you need a hairpin turn. And you can see that right here. A hairpin turn is nothing but just a piece of metal, a piece of wire that literally grounds out your positive and your negative connections there. And that's it. I know that seems crazy. Matter of fact, it seems ludicrous to me, but it works. I can have no hairpin turn on there, and I can get an SWR, and I can go put a hairpin turn on it and actually get a better SWR.
It's done
I
mostly
like
for matching the impedance, though, right?
Yeah, it does. It does change the impedance quite a bit. You can also change both the SWR and the impedance by also in conjunction with this, wrapping the wire around the pole or whatever you're using to create the baling. But that's how you do that. Again, this is just a stick of pipe. These little cross pieces, 1, 2, and a T. I guess that's T on the end. So 2 cross pieces and a T. These pieces that you just pull that out of an old tape measure and cut it. And there's everything you need right there. The hairpin turn, simply a little piece of copper wire. It can have coating on it or not. It doesn't matter as long as the ends are clean that you obviously that you make the connection with. That's it. That's all it is to building a Yagi. Now, there's other ways to build it too. You don't have to use a tape measure. If you want something slightly more permanent, something that's going to last out in the weather a little better, I designed this after I built 3 or 4 of these tape measure Yagis. I decided, well, here's a couple more pictures of some tape measure Yagis real quick. There's a dual band cross polarized. It gives you an idea here. This is a 4-element. That's your reflector, driven element, and 2 directors. And then he's just got the tape measure pieces laid out underneath. Over here, you can see the, he didn't use hose clamps. He used tape. And I had this all over here. And I built my second one I built, and I'll show you guys this. Let me take it off the screen capture here. This is actually the first one that I built, and it's basically the same thing. You can see where I sanded off the coating, and it rusted right up, of course. But I used big washers and I used wing nuts, and I literally, the wire comes up. I put my hairpin turn on, the wire comes up, wire goes up underneath the 2 bolts, and I clamp it down. I don't use solder with this. It's solderless. Instead of the hose clamps, I just put a threaded screw with a washer, zip, 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 and that's how I did all those. So I didn't have to buy those expensive hose clamps. Those hose clamps are like $2 or $3 a piece. This was a lot cheaper, to just literally screw it in. And I think I put a washer up under here, a small washer, to keep it from kinking this. You see what I mean? But there's so many different ways to build this, and all it is these cross pieces, a T piece here for the end. You want to leave the one end open so that you can put a pole or however you're going to hold this thing. And I'm going to show you pictures of this later, back when I had it mounted up there. I used this for the longest time. This was actually my sunshine net antenna. And every morning, this was up there facing towards Punta Gorda, and that's how I got the sunshine net on the 70 centimeter side. So that was like the second or third antenna I built, and I just absolutely love that antenna. Before we go any further, anything on the tape measure Yagi? Anything else? Okay, the next one you may choose to build is like the one I built here. I've got a pair of double Yagis. Oh, one more. Sorry, this was the third one I built. This is obviously a 7-element 440 Yagi. I was using this for DMR until I realized that there was literally nobody on DMR. But and I sent it back. Thank God Amazon gives you your money back 28 days later. But anyway, there you go. This thing right here is made out of an old piece of 4x4 scrap wood that I found in my scrap wood pile. Bunch of pieces off of a tape measure. The end over here is just like what I saw there, just 2 screws with the wires going under the screws. That thing gives me so much gain. If I told you it's garbage, it's literally built out of garbage. Didn't cost me a thing. Garbage. This is how I built my other ones. Instead of using tape measure, I used aluminum stock. You can also use copper wire, same thing. Aluminum stock, copper wire, basically the same kind of thing. It's just a piece of wire, basically, with no coating on it. And you can see here, this is a 440 rig I was building. There's my reflector, my driven elements. And you can see how I put the driven elements in. They go in like that. And your wire comes in and goes underneath there. Again, this can be soldered or solderless. You can put little horseshoe connectors on the end of your wires and stick them right down in there and screw it down. Where solder gives you an advantage is with weather. If you're going to put this outside, you're going to have to silicone it really good where all your connections are. And if they were soldered, that would help as well, because that solder, it's a lot harder for weather to get between solder joints than it is for weather to get between pressure joints that are just under a bolt or whatever. So you just got to keep that in mind. But this one is basically just the way I built mine. And I put little caps on the end to make it fancy. And notice I put set screws. I don't glue my pipes. I put set screws. Trust me, water will never run through my pipes again. There, I put set screws because I'll take this apart. I took this Yagi apart the other day and made a longer one out of it. So every day I'm reimagining. And on the program, this is what it looks like. You put in the frequency, you set these for inches, and you just build it. It shows you all the measurements you need. It's so awesome. And there's what mine looks like when it's up. And it's up right now, except I have the 440 array off the top. This is what it looked like at first, the one on the far right. That's what it looked like when I first put it up and was testing it out. These are just pieces of rope right here, just to keep it from sagging. That's all. Keeps everything together as well. And these are both 7-element Yagis that are hooked to identical length wires, and they're both hooked up at the same time, and they're one wave apart. And I did that so that I could get more distance and more gain, and it works really good. It's giving me about half as much gain again as I would get with just one. Same thing with the UHF. The problem I had with the UHF Yagi up on top is the weather got right into all my connections. 440 is unforgiving. If you look at it wrong, weather got in it. Just look at it. Weather's in it. Just look at it. I don't know what it is. 2 meter can rust up and it'll still work. 440 is just unforgiving. So if you have the 2 meter works, but the 440 doesn't, you're probably starting to have oxidation problems with your antenna, and you'll find that the 440 goes out before the 2 meter does with that kind of stuff. But anyway, there's my rig, and that's on my rotor up there, and I spin that around. What you don't see right now is I have my 6 meter up there too right now. My 6 meters hanging about halfway up this pole right here. It's right there. So I got 3 stacks. All right. Other options. I found a couple of other ones. I wanted to show you this. This is when I started. This was a year ago. This was my first builds. I started out with the one on the right. That was my first antenna. I built that because and that's a piece of Cablevision wire coming down. It actually works pretty good. I hooked this up so that I could talk on the nets inside the shack. This worked great. Got me on. Then I took that same antenna, made it taller, and I put the Yagi on this side shooting towards the WX4E in Punta Gorda. And on the back side, notice there's my dipole on the back side for all of the Lee County repeaters. Then I went over here and I built, this is my own design. That's a block of wood. That's a quarter wave antenna. That's just literally a piece. It's a piece I cut off of a larger antenna that I put a loop on the bottom, and it's sticking up. These were more pieces off of that long yard tape that I took apart to build those other Yardstick Yagis. This is more yardstick or tape measure, 4 tape measure. And then down here, you can see on the side, there's that dipole again. So with that rig there, sitting on one of my old camera tripods, sitting on top of my shed. And that little rig right there did really good. I can get on pretty much all the Lee County and all the Charlotte County repeaters with that tripod rig right there. So, so that's kind of how I started out. Those were my first 3 rigs. Here's some cool stuff. Build yourself a tactenna.
What?
Yeah. First time I saw that, I'm like, if I built that, I'd have to cook steaks on it.
Yeah.
Because that would
be very difficult to get those measurements perfect every time.
Yeah, I every time I see this, I want to build it, and then I talk myself out of it. The one on the right there is a magnetic loop antenna. Now, you're probably used to seeing the lower band magnetic loop antennas, but this is a homemade one you can build for 2 meter or whatever you want to size it for. So just some other options. You'll need to look this stuff up. I haven't built either one of these. Or if I built that one, I cooked steaks on it. I don't remember. But anyway, it's a funny story. We used to cook hot dogs at fire scenes by putting the hot dog on the 800 megahertz antenna and keying over to a simplex talk channel and keying up for 2 minutes. It would cook a hot dog perfectly. It's amazing what 7 watts at 860 megahertz will do. Or 35 watts. I'm sorry, 35 watts. That was the first generation system. I bet you they're not using 1 watt now. All right, so go mobile and go big. I encourage you guys all to go out and take your wife's car and do this right now.
I've seen 2 of those pictures before. The one on the bottom left and then the one in the middle on the top with the massive amount of radios.
The one on the bottom left,
looks like a Soviet embassy on wheels.
yeah, the one on the bottom left, there's some interesting things about that picture that I want you to note that you might not see. On the hood, he's got all his trophies.
What is the?
There's literally 10 blue trophies on the hood. I don't know if you guys can see it. There's also a blue, a green, and a yellow strobe light on the roof too, if you can find those.
Yeah, he's got an orange one too.
I don't know. I guess we didn't need a red one, but probably in his country, that's the only color to get you in trouble. I don't know, but I don't even know what that thing is on the trunk. I'm not sure, but it could be a flux capacitor. And it could be part of the time machine system. I'm not sure.
Screwdriver antenna.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know what all that is. Yeah, but so the upper left, those are contesters, man. Those guys are serious. That's not BS. Those are real ones up on the left. I mean, these are all real ones, but that lower left one, I think that's kind of a gag.
Yeah.
But that next one over on the bottom, that poor van. I bet it used to be a TV van. You could tell. And then there's some other cool ones there. That third one over that's on the Lexus, that's his wife's Lexus. You know it is. The neat thing about that, it mounts onto the hitch, and there's probably not a hole drilled in that thing. Kind of a neat system, really.
That's incredible.
The one to the far right, another system that goes onto the Reese hitch receiver. Neat little setup.
What is that?
Yeah.
Is that like a disc cone or something? It looks almost like a disc cone. I don't know what that is.
It does look like kind of like a disc cone, but the bottom half's upside down. It's got to be some kind of HF deal with that big old coil on it like that.
Inverted umbrella antenna.
Yeah, 80-meter mobile, baby.
Looks like a porcupine.
Anyway, I just thought you guys would find some of this kind of funny. I was like, yeah. I showed my wife. I said, this is kind of what I'm looking at, and she gave me that look like I'm leaving.
Flip you a bird.
Yeah. How about this? The strangest things ever been loaded up and used as an antenna. This guy on the left, he used he's a Palestinian ham radio operator, and he recently participated in an annual Strange Antenna Challenge on Memorial Day weekend, and he created an antenna out of a Palestinian National Guard armored tank, and actually loaded up the tank and used the tank as his antenna. Probably the heaviest antenna ever was, except maybe that one in Russia I showed you 3 weeks ago. The top barbed wire on a cow pasture fence, if you think about it, that would work. It's not really isolated too well on those wooden poles, but it is a non-conductor. We all know how that is. In circa 1959, a 2-mile distance, 2 ham stations actually held a QSO that was 5'9", both ways, using an antenna that was actually made out of cooked spaghetti noodles that was tied at the end. Laid it on a piece of newspaper in the driveway and connected it to his rig with a length of RG58 and some alligator clips, and then he tuned it up. So when they say you can actually tune up that band with a wet noodle, they proved it. At field day in the mid-'70s, 2 Volvo 245 station wagons were parked back to back and loaded up as a thick dipole. It involved the use of the towing hooks as connectors and jump start cables as feed lines. The arrangement worked reasonably well on 7 megahertz. The whole 3rd floor railing of my apartment building complex, I use it in the early AM. He uses it in the early AM because if he used it any later, he'd start burning the hands of his neighbors. Chain link fence.
TVs.
Yeah. Chain link fence and a metal garbage can. Or how about a lawn chair? You can work all kinds of FT8 with a lawn chair. A metal window screen, a steel highway bridge. Yeah. A steel highway bridge crossing a river, a rain gutter. I spoke to a guy this weekend who's got his rain gutter hooked up and it works. And of course, a flagpole or a light pole. So just some interesting stuff there. There's some
Not just
neat...
that. Don't forget the aluminum step ladder.
Yes.
But,
Yeah, if you could isolate the two flies of a step ladder, it would make a great dipole.
Make sure you use
All
ladder
right.
line.
All right, so that's the poor man's antenna. Does anybody have anything else on that before we move on to the next topic? I hope that I've inspired you guys maybe tonight to take a look around the shack or around your house or around the garage this weekend and build something. Don't be a user, be a builder. It's much more fun. And the neat thing about building antennas is, number one, you're not going to hurt anything. We're talking about you're hooking it to a 5-watt Bofang. Worst case scenario, you buy another 5-watt Bofang. Second, as long as you're close on the residence, it won't hurt that portable radio. I'm telling you guys. You do not have to have a 1-to-1, and you guys correct me if you think I'm wrong, but HTs routinely use portables that have SWRs of 3-to-1, use antennas at 3-to-1. So if you're worried about making something for your Bofang on 220, but you have no way of tuning it, number one, you can call one of us and we'll stop by with a tuner. That's the easiest way. Number two, if you're a member of FMARC, you can borrow. Check out the tuner for 2 weeks between swap shops. I fell in love with my MFJ tuner. I don't even know where it is. I fell in love with my MFJ tuner because I borrowed the FMARC MFJ tuner, and I had a 2-week love affair. Brought it back, went and bought one. It's probably the coolest thing since peanut butter. Joseph has the Nano VNA. A bunch of people have that. That works great. It's a little bit of a curve, but once you learn that one works. If you can't tune it and you don't know anybody that can help you tune it, call me. I'll find somebody. If you still can't find nobody or you still don't want to do that or whatever, I'm telling you, as long as you make it right, you make it per spec that you find online, and you cut it close, it'll work on a portable and it's not going to mess your radio up. Anybody have anything to add to that?
Oh, by the way, I want to show you something here. I found it on the National Hurricane Center radio station WX4NHC. It's a, let me set up the share
You can
here.
share. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's why I love Zoom.
Oh, yeah. You see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the typical, you take a piece of twin lead and you make, and it shows the dimensions for 220, 146, and 440, and even 810. This is the typical J-pole made out of TV antenna flat lead. So it includes 220. So that's why I brought it along tonight. I figured y'all want to see that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'll get a screen capture of that and put it on the share page.
Yeah, you can do that. Good. You can get it off WX4NHC, which is the Hurricane Center website. Look under the emergency antenna; it'd be on there too.
All right. Yeah, because I could just I'll drag that right onto the page for everybody.
Yeah, this is something we can almost put in the modulator.
And I did fail to mention the J-pole tonight. The J-pole would probably be another one that's fairly easy to build. And I probably neglected to mention that tonight. I should have mentioned the J-pole.
You could do a whole night on J-poles.
Yeah. J-poles are cool. One of the few basic antennas that I haven't messed with yet. I've messed with it. There's one at the swap shop that I'm always picking up and looking at. Some old one some guy built, and it works great. But I've never actually built one. But they're real easy to build too. It's literally just some pieces of copper, and then your antenna hooks up to it.
This is even easier than that to build. You take a piece of 300 ohm TV twin lead, if you can find any. I know you can get it. You still can get it. It's kind of hard to find anymore. 300 ohm stuff. And there's also some recipes out there on how to use the 450 ohm open line lead to do the same thing.
Mm.
But these are nice because you can fold them up and throw them in your sack and carry them with you. And then when you need it, just unfold it, hang it up, hook it up to the radio, and you're all set.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on that?
That's it. I want to show that to you.
All right. Yeah, I appreciate it, Rick. And like I said, I'll get that because I'm gonna put it over on that page.
Did you
So
make
if
a
you
copy
guys-
yet, or?
No, I'll tell you what, I can actually do it this way. I'll screen capture it. All right, I got it.
Okay.
But I'm gonna go I'll find the original and I'll post it up tomorrow, guys,
Yeah,
on the share page.
It's WX4 NHC. Look that up. That's the weather. That's the Hurricane Center ham radio station over there, and that's their website. That's where this came from.
All right, very good.
Okay.
All right, guy. Thank you very much, Rick. And anything else on that, guys? Any questions about that? I'm going to post that on the share page. For those of you who are not familiar with the share page, it's under the live tab. And basically all you're going to do is, here, I'm going to show you. This is something I started with the net a long time ago, and it's something we haven't really used much, but I want to make sure you guys know that it's here and that it's something that we're definitely using. When you go to the main website, you're going to see all this other stuff come up here, and there we go. What you're going to want to do is, we don't need the sound booster, thank you. What we're going to do is, when you're in here, there's this live net tab. Just click on the tab itself. Don't worry about the pull down stuff. Just click on the live tab button, and it brings up this page that's nothing but it's a Word document. That's all it is. And we use this to share links and pictures and things with each other. So Rick, you could, if you wanted to, right click on that and then go to this page and right click paste, and you should be able to literally copy and paste it. Maybe, I don't know. It looked like a PDF. It might be more than that. I don't know, but
Yeah, it's PDF.
yeah, but if it was a photograph, you could, or if it was text, you could copy and paste it. But we're going to be doing this FT8 dark here next. And to get this code, you don't have to go look it up. All you got to do is go to the live tab, go down to the FT8 dark here. You're going to need this code. All you got to do is highlight it and Control C or right click copy, however you like to do it. Copy, paste. This is last week. Remember that that really great band chart that I showed you? It's here from last week. If you want that, it's still here. So we're going to keep putting links on here for old stuff. And, you know, if you, at some point, if you go to this page, you can leave things here too.
Yeah.
But here's what I ask everybody. If you make a mistake and you accidentally delete something, you have to undo it. I can't undo your mistake. I can't undo your mistake on this page. So if you're on the page, because it's everybody is live on there, if you're on there and you accidentally select everything and delete it, it's no big deal. Just go up and hit the undo button until it comes back, and then we'll be all set. Remember, you only undo your things on the document. Okay, so that's all there is to that. I just wanted to show you guys that because we're now going to be using this document more again. I like it. It's something that seems to work well. And then, wow, that started out right in full screen like it was supposed to, and then it quit. All right, so there we go. Let's go back to the slideshow. The next thing we're going to do here is FT8. You guys know FT8 is my favorite mode. It's an amazing mode. I've got about 7,000 contacts, over 7,000 contacts already in FT8. Won a bunch of awards with it. I love it. It's an amazing mode. And my complaint with FT8 has always been the fact that the screen was really bright. And so finally, the wait is over. It's finally arrived, or at least my ignorance has finally gone, because I don't know how long this has actually been around. It may have been around for months, I don't know, or years. But FT8 does have a dark mode, and I'm going to show you guys how to do this. This is not over anybody's head. It's real easy. I'm going to show you. Some people gloss when I start talking about go to your desktop and create an icon. And this is easy. This is simple stuff. All you're going to do is you already have a shortcut for WSJTX. You guys already should have a shortcut for that. You can create a shortcut for that if you don't have one, but you should already have a shortcut for it on the desktop. Okay. All you're going to do is make another copy of that so that you have a copy of the shortcut. So there's 2 shortcuts on the desktop. You're going to name one of them dark. Okay. That's all you're going to do. You're going to copy your shortcut and paste. So now you have 2 shortcuts, and you're going to name one of them dark. You're going to go to the one that's dark, that says dark, and you're going to click properties. Okay. Once you get the properties, you're going to go to the shortcut tab, which is just to the right of the general tab where it comes up. You're going to locate the target box. And you just paste in that thing I gave you on that share screen.
To the end of what's already in there.
Leave what's in there and leave 1 space and then paste the rest in there. And once you've done that, that's it. You save it. And now every time you click on the dark icon, it should load in the dark mode. I did it to mine. It worked the first time, which is very unusual for me because nothing ever works the first time for me. So normally I have to call Joseph and he has to get it working for me. So, but anyway, this one worked right up. It worked great. And I love it. I use it in dark mode now and it is amazing. So check it out. That's FT8 in dark mode. And by the way, FT8, happy anniversary. We're coming up on 4 years of absolutely driving the old folks crazy with FT8 because sorry, I probably shouldn't have said that, but there's some of the older hams that just hate this program. They just hate this program. But anyway, and I understand their point of view and actually agree with parts of it. But anyway, let's get past all that. Many stations are going to take to the airwaves on August 2nd through August 15th. We don't mess around. This thing's like going on for like 13 days. To celebrate the 4th anniversary of FT8, all stations will use call signs with the FTDMC or FTDM in the suffix. The activity also celebrates the 2nd anniversary of the FT8 Digital Mode Club. Logs will be uploaded to Logbook of the World, ESQL, EQSL. The QSL cards will be available. This is just something cool to participate in. If you guys are into FT8 like I am, I'm gonna try to get these stations. I think it'll be something kind of fun. And I also think it's cool that it's been around 4 years now. I still hear it called the new thing. So it's not the new thing. All right. Next.
Well, in the context of ham radio, it's still a pretty new thing.
You are correct, John. You are absolutely correct. I stand corrected. All right. Breaking news. Sting. This is breaking news. That's my breaking news sounder. Do you like that? All right. Breaking news. It looks like the cable went out. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, let's see. What do we got this week? The Cars contest. I don't know if there's anybody in here from the Cars. I know Vivian was in here. Cars is doing a repeater test tomorrow, and you guys are all welcome to participate. It's going to be tomorrow. It's starting at 9 a.m. They're going to start it on the Sunshine Net, and they're going to run it, in through the later morning hours. The test will start during the Sunshine Net. Ops may go to one or more of the designated test locations. You can also go to your own location. You can also check in from your QTH. They're just asking you not to check in via Echolink because those don't count when we're testing repeaters. If you don't wish to travel, you can check in from your home. If you're from home and your address matches on on QRZ, then you just have to tell them you're home. If you're somewhere that doesn't match, then just tell them where you're at. It's no big deal. They just want to kind of get an idea of where their repeater is getting to. That's pretty much that. Prior to checking in, try to have a fairly clear path to the repeater. I don't need to go through that. You guys know the repeater is to the north, so just try to have a clear path to the north sky. After checking in once, you should change bands and check in again later. This is obviously a radio event, and so Echolink doesn't count. They want you to use your portables in 5-watt mode. Don't use any fancy high watt things or kickers or any of that kind of stuff. We're really wanting to know what 5 watts is going to do out there, and make sure you're all charged up. Yeah, there you go. It's it's funny if you go to eBay, you can find a Baofeng 100-watt portable. Yeah,
Wish.com has 900-watt Baofengs.
It's a pipe dream, but yeah. First of all, if it's a 100-watt portable, it would burn your face off when you're talking on it. I just to put that out there. It'd be like glowing, 100 watts. Give me a break. Anyway, here's the stations. Yeah. Here's these are all the stations where they're looking to kind of test the repeater. Now, like I said, you can do it from your house or you can do it from another location. But here's just some suggestions they had. I'm going to drive up tomorrow and I'm going to be testing with them. I'll do it. And I'm going to go up to 41 in Del Prado, which is right near my house. All right. So if anyone wants to participate in that, if you want more information, I have their email. I'll be glad to forward it. Just send me an email. And right after the net, I'll check my email and I'll forward you the information. The Cars guys up there are great. I work with them a lot. The CC Flares up there is great. So if you haven't done anything with them yet, I think you'll find it warm and inviting, just like most things. All right. Contest this weekend. It's the Missouri QSO party. Or is it pronounced misery? I don't know. I've known people from there and they pronounce it misery.
Hey, y'all, you're 5'9".
I don't know. I don't really know much about it, but anyway, they're having their QSO party at there if you want to do it. And it's QSO party. You guys know what those are. There it is. There's some other stuff going on this weekend, but it was nothing that I thought anybody would probably be interested in. But you can always go to the contest page on the SWFL Tech website. It's under resources, contests. My website of the week is QRZ. Yeah, I copped out this week. I don't have anything really cool. But I will tell you, QRZ is one of my favorite websites, okay? I actually use QRZ as my primary logbook. And I'm a data provider, or what do they call it, a XML subscriber, John? I think you're doing the same thing I am with that. I think it's, I'm an XML subscriber. That's what it is. And I got a bunch of the awards up there, which is pretty cool. I've had a lot of fun on QRZ. They're one of the few places that will actually issue you an award without you paying for it. That was going to be my thought of the week, and I never got a chance to write it, to be honest with you. But my thought of the week was, I really got disappointed when I went around to check on all these awards, and like Logbook of the World, there you got to pay for the QSOs to be counted. And I was like, okay, they're smoking crack. Let's move on. So I just don't care about those awards. I care about the free ones like on QRZ. Anyway, it's fun. If you guys don't use QRZ, I'm gonna tell you how easy it is. You just, when you're doing FT8, you can literally hook that right through your grid tracker or your what's that other one that you guys use? There's two of whatever your program is. It directly sends your QSOs right to QRZ, and then you can use QRZ as your main logbook. And then once you check your what I do is once I check them in QRZ, everything looks good. I then export them from there over to Logbook of the World. That's how I'm doing that now. I used to have it auto do it, but Logbook of the World has no delete button. I don't know whose bright idea that was. So because of that very reason, I now I check them in QRZ first, and then I send them over in a batch. It's real easy. Okay, there's some of the stuff you can do on there. Even the XML service is really cheap. You know what I like about the XML service? And John, I don't know if yours does this with that program you use, JT Alert, I think it is. It may do it too with Grid Tracker. if you are an XML subscriber, it's only like $30 a year or $20 a year. It's not a lot of money. If you're an XML subscriber, every time you call somebody on FT8, it not just brings up how many times you've contacted them. It doesn't just bring up their name and address. It brings up everything. How many miles they are. It even brings up like if they told them what year they were born, whatever information's public, how many miles, what the azimuth is, their picture, every single thing about that person comes up on my grid tracker screen. And I think that's really cool, because the moment it comes up, I can see their picture, I can see how many miles it is, what my azimuth is, everything right there. And I really like that. And it didn't do that. Before I was an XML subscriber, it would just bring up their name, their address, and it would bring up a few basic facts about them and how many times I contacted them, and that was it. Now it brings up everything, like their shoe size and everything. Okay, the next thing, the ISS, SSTV, I sound like the military with all these acronyms. We're going to the DMZ to do an SOB. But anyway, the ISS, SSTV event, the Russians are up there, and they're going to be sending down more pictures. I guarantee there'll be more pictures of Russians. But they'll be sending those down if you want to try to capture those. This is a fun thing to do. You want to know why this is fun? I'll tell you why. Because you can do it right now. You don't need any special equipment. You can take your Baofeng, hold down the menu button, turn it on, and put it in frequency mode. Type in the 6-digit frequency. Download the app. Hold the app next to the radio in the parking lot at work, and download the picture. And believe it or not, the portables actually work good because they got crappy antennas. An antenna that I found with the SSTV, when I use my Ringo, it sucks. Why? Because the Ringo Ranger has a really tight lobe that keeps all of my reception right along the horizon where it belongs. Well, as the space station goes overhead, my Ringo actually loses the station as it's going over top, because it's such a good antenna. I hook it up to some crap antenna, and I throw it out and lay it literally, like lay it horizontally on the roof, and it does great. It really, you really don't want a Yagi at all. You don't want anything directional. You don't want anything that puts out a really good lobe, that has a really tight lobe onto the horizon. If you're going to do anything with the ISS or with those weather satellites, you got to use an antenna that picks up everything, and not just along the horizon. And what seems to do that is, like, I have a little quarter wave crappy antenna on my van, and it seems to do pretty good. But my good base radio antennas don't do good at all. So just some food for thought for that. But this is an event coming up next week that you guys can all take part in. It's going to be on the 7th through the 8th, which is going to be next weekend. So I'll try to remind you guys again on next week's net, because it's going to start the morning after the net next week. And this is a fun thing. Something else you can do with this is fun. Let's say the station's flying over Utah. No problem. Go to WebSDR. Pull up the SDR in Utah. Put in the frequency. Turn on your SSTV. Connect it through your cable. That program that we showed you guys that connects one app on your laptop to another, and connect them together. And now you can take the SSTV images right from wherever you pick them up anywhere in the world. I actually I found a WebSDR in Zimbabwe, Africa, and was picking up the picture as the space station was going over that part of Africa. So it's something cool you can do. You can play around with. You can pick up that. You can decode the image using your laptop, using your desktop, using a device, a tablet, a phone, anything. It's amazing, and it's easy. There's apps. There's you can do it with the program. If you're in Windows or Apple, I'm sure there's a $50 Apple program that'll do it. It's probably a free program.
50
I'm just being
$50.
sarcastic. Yeah, I know. There's
Yeah.
not many free
It act-
programs for
well, there
Apple.
is
I don't know.
the one
Is
I
there an
use
Apple
costs like
SSTV program?
yeah, I think it costs
Or is that too
$3.
simple for Apple people?
No, there is one. I think it costs $3.
Oh, wow. Okay. It does cost a few dollars.
Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise.
Yeah, I
There's
have
nothing
it.
free on Apple. Yeah, there you go.
There was a
All
point
right.
where the app didn't even work for a while before when there was an iOS update, the app stopped working. Luckily, it works
Oh.
again though. Kind of fills in the static there.
All right, so your tropical update. Well, the good news is that it's quiet. There's no tropical cyclone activity expected for the next 5 days.
We would like it.
Yeah, it's the way we like it. But with this really big good news comes, the good news is it's real quiet right now. The bad news is all this quiet out here doesn't really matter much because we're not really in the heat of season yet. We're still in July, folks. Season really heats up as we get into August, and it peaks out right at the end of August. So we're really not in it yet. So don't read too much into the fact that it's quiet. We've had this Saharan dust layer that's just been amazingly persistent over the intertropical convergence zone now for what seems like months, but it's actually been weeks. And that suppresses all of the thunderstorm activity, and it prevents anything from getting started. So as you can see out there, look at that. It's quiet. You've got this little mess here that come off. It's nothing. They're not even issuing advisories on that. And there's nothing. There's this crap that's in the intertropical out here, but we'll have to see what happens as it comes across. The Saharan dust layer is starting to dissipate. It's starting to move away. And so as that happens, we're probably going to start seeing the training effect of these low pressure systems as they come across the Atlantic. And of course, we're starting to come into the time of year when we start to look out here past the Windward Islands for our seeds of where we're looking for the next storm to come from. And the other beat of bad news, the Saharan dust layer suppresses thunderstorm activity, which allows your surface temperatures to rise at a slightly faster rate because you're not having cloud cover over the ocean. So we're starting to see a rise in our sea levels that right now is pretty normal. But we could actually see a slightly warmer than normal sea surface temperature going forward because of all this unusually calm weather that we've had over the tropics. So just something to kind of think about. It's do you believe that 87 degrees off of Louisiana?
Oh yeah.
That's bathwater, dude.
Oh yeah.
All right.
90 degrees in the Gulf. It get there very easily.
I mean, all you need is potatoes and carrots.
I
All right. Help us out. Host a TechNet. We're looking for people to host a TechNet. I'll do your slideshow. I'll make it really easy, and I'll be here to help you all night. It's not like I'm going to throw you to the wolves. You don't have to do anything but just provide the information that you have to us. I'm going to do all the legwork. But we're really specifically interested in someone to bring and show us JS8 call, FL Digi, and some of these other modes that Joseph and I are not really familiar with. It's not fair for me to try to figure this out and then bring it to you like that. I'm trying to find somebody that can do these topics some justice, like we did with Steve and WinLink, and like we did with several other people with different topics. I want to bring someone that's a specialist in this one topic. So if you have a topic, I don't care what it is. It can be some obscure topic as long as it's tech based and it's ham radio related in some way. I'm interested. So please let me know. I really need some help with this, guys. I'm digging in the well every week, and the well's running dry here. I went back and did antennas again this week because I'm literally running out of stuff to do, guys. So help me out. If there's something you want to talk about, doesn't have to fill a whole night. It could be a 20-minute topic. We'll do 3 of them in one night. We can split the night into 2. We can do one big topic. I can do mini topics. We can do open lines night with mini topics. There's so many things we can do. What's cool about this net is we're in charge and we make the rules, so we can do whatever we want. So if you contact me, just tell me what you want to do and we'll figure out a way to fit that into the puzzle. All right, and of course, the wealth of resources out there, Southwest Florida TechNet. I've been tweaking a little bit on some of the weather stuff, and it's pretty good. That lightning map we have from Blitzstung is really cool, and the weather radar that I have is really cool, and also the wind map from Windy. Those are all great resources, and of course, our hurricane page is there as well that I will keep updated as storms threaten. And then, of course, you got your propagation stuff, and your resources are there's your contesting under resources. And I got a great app there, or not app, but a great page that shows you a timeline and everything, and it works out really good. All right, does anybody have anything else? Just wanted to mention real quick Mike's weather page.
Yeah.
This was my website of the week like 4 or 5 weeks ago, but I just want to mention it again. Great website. Strongly recommend this website for people who are buffs out there, because you can access hundreds of maps at a touch, along with all of the these are all the models. You can do model runs. This is he's got everything right on one page. It's kind of amazing. So
And he also has the drunk donkey.
He does the drunk donkey, yeah, and he also does he broadcasts in the morning too during season, and actually does a little show. And then if there is a threatening storm, he'll go on 2 to 4 times a day even to update people as the storm's coming by. Not a meteorologist, but a buff that's giving out approved information. So it's good stuff. All right, that's it. That was the poor man's antenna. Does anybody have anything else on anything we've discussed so far tonight?
Well, now I have a new episode, if you will, of what is it?
It's Rick's mystery of the day.
Yes.
We need like a sounder. This is Rick's mystery of the day. Go ahead, Rick.
Let me put it on share screen.
Okay.
All right. This was found this last Thursday night at the EOC in the parking lot.
Uh-oh. Did you leave it there or did you take it home?
No, I left it there. I don't know what this is. If it were inside, I would think it was a doorbell. But that's not what it is. Can you see it okay?
That is
Yeah.
a Wi-Fi extender.
I was just going to say, that's what it looks like to me too, yeah.
It is the what?
It
Wi-Fi.
allows them to have Wi-Fi out in the parking lot. It's so that if you're using equipment that uses Wi-Fi in the building, you could actually go outside and use it outside too.
Oh, that's kind of neat.
We
I-
have something similar to this over at Wink TV where I work.
I
We've got
kind
a
of
couple
figured
them
it
outside.
was something like that, but I thought, gee, I mean, why would you have Wi-Fi in the parking lot? So, and
If you were the county, you would have Wi-Fi in your parking lot too.
Well, let
Yeah.
me explain that to you.
okay,
A lot of their EMS units have electronic medical record systems,
yeah,
and they have to use secure connections. So they can't just pull up to a McDonald's and use the McDonald's Wi-Fi to transmit their e-records.
right. They need to go.
So they
through
have to have
VPN or
something
stuff.
that's secure.
Yeah,
And so they pull into the parking lot there at the EOC, transmit their data securely, and they've met all the requirements.
Yeah.
All that is a repeater.
Yeah.
The wires going to it are simply to provide power. The antennas pick up, and you can daisy chain the silly things. You can put, one here and one, 100 feet down the road, and another one 100 feet past that, and you can daisy chain them.
yeah,
Another place you can see something like this in even a grander scale is the camera system in downtown Fort Myers that they put on the street lights. What you'll see is on this street light, there'll be 3 cameras and there'll be a flat reflector facing that way. And then you look down to the next pole and there's the reflector talking to that one and the next reflector talking to the next pole. And
Yeah.
you can usually follow it down the road 4 or 5 or 6 jumps. And then they'll start a new one. They'll have another spot where it hooks up and starts going out again. But
So does this work on 2.4 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz or both?
I have no idea.
Seeing the multiple antennas, I'd say it probably works on both.
Yeah.
But that's very similar to a device that I helped a friend of mine install a bunch of in over in Fort Lauderdale in a resort over there. And but I think those only had 2 antennas, and the fact that it has 3 tells me it's probably multi-band.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would think too. Well, can anybody connect into it, or is it strictly somebody's got the password?
Well, you know, they've got their internal Wi-Fi, and they've also got a guest Wi-Fi system.
Right.
So it's hard telling whether they probably don't extend the guest network.
Because I know
But
I've gotten on
that's
the guest
probably-
network when I've been to the meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. Next time you're there, try it from your car. Like try it on your cell phone or
Yeah, I'll try it myself.
or whatever, and see if you can get a good, powerful signal out there.
But I saw that and I thought they wouldn't have Wi-Fi. Well, then if they don't, so interesting to find out. But anyway, that's what's got my
Now,
curiosity.
if you really wanted to do it, we could go down there and we could take an SDR Sharp and hook it into my tablet, and we could stand below the thing and try to figure out what frequency it's on.
Oh, I've
Yeah,
got an
high
app
RF.
on my phone. I can do that.
I was going to say there are phone apps that you can do all that, and
And I got
I think the one I've got is Insider. It's INSSIDER,
Yeah.
and it's a Wi-Fi analyzer for a cell phone.
Yeah, if you guys have never seen those are neat programs. I've got one. I think mine's actually called Wi-Fi Analyzer, but it's pretty cool because as you walk or drive around, when you look at it, it shows you all the different signals and what their strengths are and which frequencies they're on, and it's really cool. It's great. And if you go to a place that's really dense with like high rises and stuff, you will be absolutely amazed at how many signals your phone will pick up.
Yeah.
Oh
Like
yeah.
100 individual signals. It's like, whoa.
You can't get that on Apple, but if you did, it'd be $50.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have it on Android, and I can do that.
Yeah, I know there's been times just in analyzing, local Wi-Fi. It's like, why doesn't it tell me this, the signal strength as I walk around my house? Well, you can do that on Android, but I'm not aware of how to do that on an Apple device.
All
Well, I
right.
guess I'm glad I'm not an
We
Apple.
are now recording on Zoom, and we also are live on
Why do
YouTube
I hear myself?
up right now, so we can get started. It's going to be great tonight. I
Do you
put,
guys hear that?
quite a bit into this week. I had some time,
Yes.
and so I think it's
Yes.
going to be good. And I'm going to
It's
have to.
Daniel.
Where's
this
that coming from?
We are now recording on. That's another thing. If I'm
Is it
going
Frank?
live, why
Hey,
would you?
Frank,
Yes,
are you watching another net?
I'm trying to get to where the heck you guys are, and I'm just clicking here.
All right. Well, I don't know what happened there, but we're good now. That's all that matters.
All
All
right.
right.
Well,
so-
I clicked on the one thing. I just muted it. That's all. Watch our latest nets here.
All
That's
right.
what it was.
It all seems to be okay now.
Well,
Yeah.
that's because I muted it.
Okay.
Have it start the video that I'm.
Yeah, that's the video.
Where? How do I get to where you are now?
Just slide the little slider in the search, like the seek function, just slide it all the way to the right. And then, I mean, you're going to be delayed by a little bit always, but
Hey, you're telling me to do something. I don't know what you're talking about.
well, you're on YouTube, right?
No,
the
I'm
YouTube
on
website.
where I started from. The SWFL TechNet.
Oh, so you're watching the YouTube video or the YouTube stream on the TechNet website.
That's what was talking. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So You were clicking around and you were doing it right. You just need to make the little red line at the bottom of the video. Like when you hover your mouse over the stream,
Yeah.
there's like a red line. You want to click the red line and drag it all the way to the right. That'll make it be live, but it's still going to be delayed a little bit. Just because there's some
Sometimes
time.
It says
Sometimes if you
24/7
see-
kill music.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't. That's weird.
It's okay.
I'm live on
I'll
the
survive.
computer that I'm.
All right, so let's see. Does anybody have any topics they would like to bring tonight? Anything that that might be of interest to anybody, or are you trying to get something going at home and you're having some problems? Because we'd like to help. Come down.
Did you actually say that just now? Or was
Yeah.
that the thing from the? Okay.
No, it's live. It's me. This is me. This is not just me, but this is me in the here and now.
Is
Some
it
portions
live
of this
or is it
program
memory?
have been pre-recorded.
Yeah. I don't,
Well, you can't.
I don't, somehow this show, the following show is provided in 2 time zones. I don't know how that works.
This Twilight Zone and that Twilight Zone.
There you go. A journey beyond sight and mind. Isn't that a great show?
Oh, yeah.
Have been
That-
pre-recorded.
Honest to God, the Twilight Zone, the original Twilight Zones are, we still watch them here.
The following show is provided in 2 time zones. I don't know how that works.
This Twilight Zone and that Twilight Zone.
There you
So who was the host? I'm in upstate New York, and
Holy
he's from
shit.
Binghamton, which is just a few miles away.
Isn't that a great show?
Oh, yeah.
Have been
Rob-
What's great is we're hearing like other parts of the show during the show. So what we could do is we could sit here and watch the show from earlier. They did that on Spaceballs.
This Twilight Zone and that Twilight Zone.
So who was the host?
Yeah.
He's upstate New York, and he's from Binghamton, which is just a few miles away.
Isn't that a great show?
Rob-
What's great is
Somebody
show,
has
like,
YouTube
pre-recorded,
playing in the background.
Broadcast at an earlier time.
Yeah, we need to
Frank.
sync up.
sit
It's
here,
Frank.
watch.
I'll
the
answer my own question. It was Rod Sterling.
He did that on Spaceballs.
There, yeah. See, it was Frank. He did it.
I just muted everybody but Joseph and I. So I don't know who it was. If
It
it
was
wasn't
Frank.
you, you're welcome to unmute again. But I just had to figure out who it was here.
It's Frank. It's Frank K4FHR. That's who it was.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else really. I am gonna be going to the swap shop tomorrow to help them clean up some more and sort everything out there. So that will be nice.
Come on, you can do a better job than that of plugging the swap shop.
I ain't plugging the swap. I'll plug the swap shop once it's ready.
Do the radio voice. Come on out to the swap shop tomorrow afternoon at 11 o'clock, or tomorrow
Terrible
morning
idea.
at 11 o'clock.
This Saturday at 11 a.m.
Nah, no,
in
we
a
don't need it.
world where amateur radio equipment is literally laying around everywhere.
This is why we can't do this yet. We can do it once it's cleaned up, then it'll actually be.
It's gonna be cool. I'm actually looking forward to it.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
Joe Ryan's not going to be there, huh? I think he's not going to be there because he had.
No, I got an email from him a little while ago. He said he's not going to be there. He's got some medical thing, but he'll be fine. He'll be at the next one.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
we've got Charles in
So,
charge.
so we can do all kind of stuff, and Joe won't be there to say no.
Charles in charge. This is the second time.
Remember, this is being recorded, Joseph.
That's okay.
And it's being broadcast live around the world on YouTube. All right.
In the Twilight Zone, I'm in a twilight zone now. Can you see?
Yeah, I see that.
I like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Parts of this show were even broadcast 7 different times.
Yes.
All right. Oh, I love it. Oh, anyway. Oh, man. This was good tonight. I always have fun with the antennas. The antennas are my favorite thing. I got to tell you guys.
The cheaper, the better.
Yep. When I come in here and I literally build it out of nothing. I start with crap, and I about half my antenna building time is digging and looking and finding and figuring and driving up to the store to buy and get what I need, and then like the second half is the actual building the antenna part. But once I find everything and I put it together, when you build something like, especially like a Yagi or something, you spend 3 hours building this thing, you get it all put together, you take it outside, you stick it on your test tripod, you point it into the sky, and you hook it up to your antenna analyzer, and you turn it on, and it comes back with a great SWR, and you just want to jump up and down. It's like, wow, I did it. I made this thing, and it works. And I know what the guys used to feel like 100 years ago when they would build a Heathkit radio and talk to somebody on it. I can't experience that today. A, because I can't build a Heathkit radio, and B, because I can't build a Heathkit radio. But I can still build antennas, and that's the one thing I can do, and I love it.
I mean, these guys that are selling these in-fed half-wave antennas are charging a couple $100 for them. And I've got a 40-meter one out here that I may have about $15, $20 worth of parts in. And I just worked Croatia on CW this afternoon with it. So it works.
Yep. Amazing stuff. Oh, I haven't done a lot of Magic Band this last week. I don't know. I get hardcore about my FT8 for a little while, and then I kind of back away a little while. I have, I'm having a shortage of radios right now. I had one of my Chinese radios is not transmitting. I don't know what's the deal. It's not putting out anything. And so I know. So now, and I'll tell you what, I would be sad if it wasn't for the fact that I only spent $120 on this thing, and I've got about 100,000 miles on it. It was my primary shack radio for a year, and I was checking in on 25 nets a week there for a while with this thing on my Yagi beam in 7 counties. So I got my money's worth out of it. But that leaves me to the point now where when I'm in the shack, if I want to talk on the Sunshine Net, or I want to do the traffic net or whatever, I have to literally take the face off of my FT8 radio and program it to work on the repeater, because it's an old Yazoo and you can't program it with a computer, so it'll never get programmed. And so I just basically have to dial up the repeater frequency and put in the tone and put in everything, and then I can talk to whoever I need to talk to. It's just become a pain in the butt now that I don't have this quad monitor radio right in front of me with all the stuff in it. So that's why I'm not on as many nets right now. I'm just kind of chilling out because I don't have this radio that's right here for me to just pick up the mic and go, yeah, I'm here, 10-4. And it sucks. I hate it. So what I've decided I want to do, the best luck I've had with radios has been old boat anchors that I buy for $20 at a swap shop. So I've decided that I've got some big jobs I'm working on right now. I don't know if I told you guys, but I'll tell you what, let's go ahead. It's almost 10 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and end the recordings. Does anybody have anything else or any announcements or anything they want to say before we end the recordings for the night?
So we're going off the record.
We're going to go off the record now.
Yes.
All right, guys. All right, everybody, have a good night out there. This is the Southwest Florida TechNet. My name's Ian, KO4EFS, and I'm here with Joseph, KM4OVZ, and the Southwest Florida Tech Team. And we are live in Fort Myers, and we'll be back next week on Friday night, starting at 7:30 for the Rag Chew and 8 o'clock for the TechNet. You can find out more at SWFL Tech.